Today, we're gonna make one of my absolute favorite meals, which is pork carnitas. Here's the ingredients we'll be using: Adobo seasoning, sazon seasoning, both homemade, recipes are in the description, bay leaves, chicken stock, pork shoulder butt, I'll be only using about a fourth of this, fresh garlic, and chipotle peppers in adobo sauce. I'll go ahead and turn on my cast iron skillet to a medium-high heat. Costco sells 2 pork shoulders at a time. We took one and we cut it perpendicular to the angle of the meat. This is so we ensure some of the fat cap is included when we're making this recipe. You're going to braise the meat. I use avocado oil because I didn't have any pork tallow to use. Do not use butter or olive oil. It will burn at high temperatures. Ghee is completely fine though. At a medium-high heat, we're gonna braise each portion of the meat. It only is about 1 to 2 minutes on a high heat, trying to get that nice golden brown crust. After all edges have been braised, you want to deglaze the pan. I just use a bit of chicken stock, and then I just use the wooden spatula to scrape all the fawns, those crunchy bits, off the pan. Take that and go ahead and just dump it into the crock pot. Do not miss this step. It's very important to add just a punch of flavor to the meat. Take a small knife about 1/2 inch in and insert those garlic slivers just in a random pattern. Make sure you do all the edges of this. Once this step is completed, just set the meat in the crock pot with the crock pot set on low. Take 4 to 6 chipotle peppers, take and slice them very well. If you don't like a lot of spice, you can remove the seeds. However, I find this is still in the end a mild recipe for my taste. Add the last 3/4 of a cup of chicken stock to the crock pot. And to finish this up, we're just going to add all of the spices. The specifics are in the description below. Add some bay leaves, mine kind of fell apart. Add a bit of extra cumin and a bit of extra oregano. I'll add 1 tablespoon of salt just to start. You want to add more once it's done cooking for its 8 hours. You'll go ahead, place the lid on, cook it on low for 8 hours, checking at the 6-hour mark. It's been 8 hours, our meat is falling apart. Use a fork to shred it. If it's not, let it sit another 15 to 30 minutes cooking on low just so the meat absorbs all the sauce. If you want to be lazy and stop right there, the meat is still delicious. I like to remove the meat and then end up condensing down the sauce to make kind of like an au jus for myself. Again, this is personal taste. If you want to be lazy, just go ahead and skip this step. Take a little butter, add it to the meat. This is just kind of coating it in fat. You'll then take a piece of parchment paper, line the pan, put the broiler on high, place the meat on there on a very thin layer. If you make it too thick, you're not going to get the crunchy flavor of the carnita meat. With the broiler on high, place in the oven for 2 minutes. Keep close attention to this. You're going to pull out, and then you're just going to go ahead and flip the meat. Put it back in the oven for an additional 2 minutes. If you're using the meat juices to make an au jus, I removed about 50% of the fat. This is just a personal taste I like. I then used an immersion blender just to mix it well and thicken the sauce up a little bit. Feel free to use this with your meat however you want to. Sometimes I just dip the meat in it. After the second time in the broiler for 2 additional minutes, the meat is done. It is delicious and crispy. Do not forget to toss it in fat before you do this though. Ate ours with the chicken breast Carnivore Crisps and cheese. It was like having carnita nachos.